Hi there, welcome to Fermentation Friday. Today, bread and butter pickles. Now for bread and butter pickles, we're going to put a little honey in there because you got to have a little bit of sweetness, right? But the honey has yeast in it, and that can sometimes mess with your ferment. So it's a good idea to up your brine and get up close to about a 3% brine, and that will help with the balance. For me, I'm going to do 1.5 teaspoons of my Redmond's Real for 1 cup of water. Always do some bay leaves with my pickles because the tannins in those bay leaves help hold that crunch in your pickle. I've got 2 cloves of garlic that I have smashed. So I'm going to go with shallots today and just slice those into rings. And I am going to separate those as I drop them in the jar. And then I have a little bit of ginger. Ginger is optional, but I like adding it for the health benefits of the ginger. So I'm just going to, you could grate this, you could use powdered ginger. I'm just gonna slice this. Add your honey. Make sure it is raw and unfiltered. And for about 4 cups of my cucumbers there, I'm gonna do 1/4 cup of honey. Not too much. You can really mess with your ferment if you do too much honey. And then mustard seeds. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of mustard seeds. Again, I'm basing this on 4 cups of my cucumbers. I really want some celery seeds here. I thought I had some and I don't. Tablespoon of your celery seeds. And then I'm going to do a tablespoon of turmeric. And then because of the turmeric, I've got some peppercorns here, and I just want to give them a smash because those peppercorns helps that curcumin and the turmeric absorb into your body. And next, pickling cucumbers. Make sure you're getting like a Kirby or a Perkins. Make sure it's a pickling cucumber here. I don't know if you hear that. There's an ice machine over there making noise. Always cut off the ends. Now, the bloom end, if you leave that on, it can make your pickles mushy, and nobody likes a mushy pickle. Cucumbers ferment fast. I usually go just maybe 4 days. Maybe 4 days. And sometimes if you have the honey, you might want to ferment them longer. But I really advise you to start testing them after about 3 days because they can get mushy and they can go mushy really fast. So I'm not sure if this 2 cups is going to be enough. Probably not. I'll probably need at least 1 more cup, but I'm going to start with this 2 cups. But in this jar here is the brine left over from my last batch of fermented dill pickles. And any kind of brine that you have from any kind of ferment you did, whether it's sauerkraut or any carrots or whatever, if you add a couple of tablespoons of that brine to your new ferment, it's going to jumpstart that ferment and really just kick it off really fast because you're already adding now lactic acid, and that lactic acid is just going to start this fermentation going. So now let's see how much brine I need to make. I don't know if it's getting it's getting worse. Now I have here this Fido style jar, which was the hinge lids and the gasket, and these are great for fermenting because you don't have to burp them. They actually allow a little air to escape. So if you don't have this kind of jar and you don't have a pickle pipe that naturally lets the air escape, then just do a piece of like cheesecloth. You can use a coffee filter with a rubber band because our goal here is we don't want anything falling into our brine, but we also need to let the gases escape. So now you also need something weight, and obviously they make pickling weights, and I don't have any here. They're all on the boat. So I'm just going to use a jar to put in here. Now I'm going to see if I can't do 2 because as you can see, things want to come up around them. And you can see that coming up. Normally, I would use a cabbage leaf, and I use that cabbage leaf as a barrier. And I don't have any cabbage, but I just did some pickled carrots. So I have these carrot tops. So I'm going to use these as my barrier because I can push them up to the side and they can keep everything underneath that brine. But I'm still going to put in my 2 little jars here for the weight. I'm going to push them down and I'm going to top them up so they will be heavy. So now I'm going to put my lid on and I'm going to set these coolish, darkest place, and I'm going to start checking them in 3 days. But there's your bread and butter fermented pickles. I'll see y'all next Fermentation Friday. Bye.